Hi, I'm Kate, and I'm going to show you how to use a ring sling to carry your baby facing forward. A couple quick safety things. You always want to make sure, of course, that your baby can breathe, that their airway is clear. So to face forward, they have to have good head and neck control. A good milestone is to be able to push up, look side to side without falling down. That's how you know they have good enough head control to be facing forward. Also, you want to make sure they don't get overstimulated. The world's pretty busy. Some babies love that. Some just need a break from it sometimes. So monitor your baby, make sure they're doing okay. And also, going back to the airway, make sure they don't fall asleep or they're not too slouchy. You want to always keep them up. If they are falling asleep or have fallen asleep, turn them and face you or put them down. So going over ring sling very quickly. I'm going to briefly go over how to thread it, but hopefully you also know how to do that a little more thoroughly, and there's other tutorials too on general ring sling use. But take your sling, make sure that it's not twisted at all. So I'm going to find it there, and I kind of gather it together, and I'm going to go through both rings, slide that through. You want to make sure that it's not twisted too much, and we'll kind of redo that, and then once it's through both, you go over the last one and back through the first one, so over and under. You can see that. Okay, and then pull that through. Take a pocket. There you go. Okay, and then I'm going to tighten it somewhat and put it on and get it relatively adjusted. Now I'm going to make sure that this is all nice and even, because it helps to tighten if your ring sling is nice and flat and untwisted through the rings. So I kind of bloomed it out. I'm going to find the hem, and I go from one hand to the other and just make sure it stays all nice and even, and that the hems or the rails are on the outside. Okay, and then I'm going to tighten strand by strand, starting with my top rail, going through, making sure that it is all nice and flat. Now I know that this rail goes to the top of my sling and this rail goes to the bottom. Okay, and then I'm going to take that bottom rail, and this is a little different than standard ring sling. I want that nice and tight across my chest here. I'm going to want a nice pouch here. So I need to tighten that outside rail, get it nice and snug so that it's almost as tight as your shirt up in here, and then you have a nice pouch. And I'm going to loosen this rail to make it a little easier to get baby in. Okay, and then you want to start with your rings nice and high, so as you tighten, they end up in a nice comfortable position. So go ahead and grab your baby, and basically kind of fold your baby in half. They're very flexible, they usually don't mind. So go ahead and tuck them in, so bottom first, so that they're sitting on their bottom. And they're usually kind of cross their legs naturally. So make sure they don't get underneath, that they're just really resting on their bum. Okay, and now just have to tighten. So I'm going to start with the top rail here. It's still nice and loose. And I'm going to tighten that to get her snug. And now I can do a little strand by strand tightening, which doesn't need too much. That top rail really locked her in pretty well. And having the bottom inside rail is still way up here on her back, so she's in a nice little pouch, and that's it. To get her out, you just have to lift the one ring to loosen everything, pull down that top rail, and pop her out, and you're done. Thank you.